Those same principles, man, that you would use in the drug game, you use actually in business now. It's just, being able to have people, giving people stuff on consign, having workers, dealing with problems all the time, getting something on consignment like you borrowed money.
Yes.
So I would borrow the drugs and pay it later.
That's right.
So yeah.
Credit. So there's credit.
That's credit. That's
Yeah.
credit in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So definitely, I would definitely say that entrepreneurship is definitely related to, you probably got a lot of drug dealers, man, ex-drug dealers anyway, when they come out of a situation, most of them are really good at entrepreneurship.
Oh yeah. I tell people, I think entrepreneurship, the drug game is very much a form of entrepreneurship. It's just the product is different. All right, we're here with Tory Lockett. Welcome to Bootstrap Millionaire.
Man, thank you for having me, brother.
Good to have you on the show.
Definitely.
Well, listen, Tory, let's just get started and tell the audience a little about who you are. Who is Tory Lockett?
Man, I'm Tory Lockett, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 14 years, man, in Atlanta, Georgia. I started a commercial cleaning business about 15 years ago, man, and took it from pretty much zero, from $200 an outfit to 7 figures. Wow. And today I have an academy where we help individuals just like myself become entrepreneurs. I wrote a book about 2 months ago that's out now. And now we have a wealth building conference that's coming up that we're going to be doing annually, man. So we strolling, we're moving on along, me and the wife.
Yeah, I'm excited about that wealth building conference. I'm grateful and thankful that I'm going to be a part of that. So really excited about it. I think that's something that's very much needed in the culture. So what's one thing, Tory, that people don't know about you?
Is that I'm a real spiritual guy, and my relationship with God is more deeper than a lot of people probably see that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm an avid reader, man. I love to read. When I say avid, I'm a junkie for reading. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people probably wouldn't see that in me, but I love to learn and read.
So, man, what kind of books do you read?
I read self-help books. I love self-help books. I probably read about at least 2-3 books a month.
Wow. What's a good book would you advise us to read?
Right now, man, it's one called Atomic Habits. It's one of my favorite, man. Atomic Habits, The Millionaire Mindset. What's another one? Now, one of my all-time favorites is Think and Grow Rich, the Black version, Dennis Kimbro.
Oh, it's a different version.
It's a different version. Yeah. That's the version, man. I like that book. There was when I was in my situation, my sabbatical.
Right. Well, let's actually talk a little bit about that sabbatical, right? Because I think that's probably something that a lot of people probably don't know about you, and you talk about it in your book. The trials that you went through early on in your life. Let's speak a little bit about that.
Oh man. When I was younger, man, I grew up in actually Mobile, Alabama, a small town called Maysville. And Maysville was a drug-infested neighborhood. I mean, my house, like literally, I can walk around the corner and you would have drug dealers, prostitutes, robbers, whatever you name, it was on the scene. The street was called Antwerp. And everything went down there. Me and my little brother and cousins, a lot of us, that's just kind of, we go to the grocery store and come back. But when we were younger, and the school was probably a block or 2 from this.
Wow.
Elementary school called George Hall. And I'm like, man, so we got a chance, not that it was a good thing, but we got an opportunity to see all this craziness going on. And nobody never really bothered us. They kind of took, because we was part of the neighborhood. But if you was outside the neighborhood, it might have been a problem. But that was my childhood, pretty much, man. Most of my family, probably about 3 of my uncles, let me see, 1, 2, well, at least 2 of my uncles and the aunt all were in the drug game. So, one of my uncles, I can remember an episode, just to share with you real quick. I remember when I was younger, I was probably 7 or 8 years old, man, and he took me to a house, a boarding house, and I'm like, what's going on? I was a little kid. They in here shooting dope. I'm like, what? They tying belts around their arm. I mean, they shooting heroin. I'm like, what the world? I'm like, and he would always tell me, boy, I never catch you doing
How
this.
old was you then?
I was probably about 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
Yep, probably about 7 or 8 years old. He was like, man, I better never, ever catch you doing this here. I'm like, now how you gonna tell me not to be doing something? You sitting there doing it,
right?
You know,
right.
But it was a wake up call for me. You know what I'm saying? It allowed me. You know, it was like I would never. I knew at some point that I probably would end up either selling drugs or doing drugs, but doing drugs would definitely wasn't gonna be my.
So you felt that way even as a kid, that you knew
Young,
that you was either
man.
gonna be selling drugs or doing.
Very young, at a very young age, because I was surrounded by it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now my initial thing was to become an athlete. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, you know, black kids, you know, everybody want to be a football player. I played football, baseball, basketball. I played every sport you can think of. I ran track, but in high school, I ended up. I think what happened was outside of practice. It was spring break, and we had practice, and we had a set. You know, back in the days, you know, people call sets. You know, we have a little party at the hotel, and we come out the hotel room, and two of my partners and I, it was a Coke machine, and we just wanted to be devilish, man, and we ended up breaking into this Coke machine, man, and the security guard caught us, and we ended up running, and he chased us. I jumped the fence, broke my ankle. Now, I'm varsity football, getting ready to start this year. And I break my ankle, man, and they had to pick me up, run with me. I'm in summer school. I mean, it was just crazy. So I ended up losing my position, man. So I lost all hopes of, you know, even thinking about playing football or going to college or anything like that, because I lost my position. I lost my speed. You know, it was just, I still kept playing, but it was crazy. But I ended up meeting two of my partners. Well, the same two partners, they were in the game. And I was in high school, and one day I was, you know, we got a little Hardship when you come through. Everybody come through. All the older cats come through and ride, and, you know, after school. I don't know if y'all experienced that, but anyway, one day it was after school, and my partner saw a little, he came out, we sitting in the car. He had a little Thunderbird. Well, he was driving his mom's car. It was a Thunderbird. And he had a matchbox in his hand with some little rocks. And I'm like, man, what do you got? Man, this man had a matchbox. I'm like, you making money out here. That's why you out here, you know, even though they had a little money, you know, he didn't even really have to do this, but he out here doing it, I guess, trying to be cool.
Right.
You know, but that's how I really got my first start, man, in the drug game, man. He ended up turning me on to the cat to get my first $50 piece. Now, what is a $50 piece? I know a lot of people probably wonder, right. What is a $50 piece, right. Man? A $50 piece is we pay $50. It's a rock, a block that we would buy, and we would chop it up into 20-cent pieces. You know what I'm saying? And we charge
20 cent pieces.
20 cent pieces. We'll chop it up into 20-cent pieces. You know what I'm saying? We'll chop 5 different pieces out of that rock, and we would charge $20 per rock. So I would take $50 and turn it into $100. So I was intrigued by that. And it happened really fast. But it was one problem I had. On my first attempt, I got robbed.
Wow.
So that was my warning right there. God was telling me, hey, son, this is not for you. You know, but guess what? You know, we hard head make a soft, you know what I'm saying? Right. You know what our parents used to say? So that was my start. That's how I actually really got into the game, man. And from there, it scaled. I mean, it went from selling rocks to selling keys.
Wow.
You know, really fast.
It scaled up very fast.
Yeah, right. Scaled up very fast, man. So I think this was like 1989 at this time. No, this was like 88, probably 87, 88. But by 1990, 91, somewhere up in the 92, yeah, it was a total.
So would you say that was your first introduction to entrepreneurship?
That's fair to say. Now that I look back, absolutely, because some of those same principles, man, that you would use in the drug game, you use actually in business now. You know, It's just, you know, being able to have people, you know, giving people stuff on consignment, having workers, dealing with problems all the time, getting something on consignment like you borrowed money.
Yes.
So I would borrow the drugs and pay it later.
That's right.
So yeah,
credit. So there's credit.
Yeah, that's credit. That's credit in the game.
Yeah,
absolutely. So definitely, I would definitely say that entrepreneurship is definitely related to you. You probably got a lot of drug dealers, man, ex-drug dealers anyway, that's good. When they come out of a situation, most of them are really good at entrepreneurship, man.
Oh yeah. I tell people, I think entrepreneurship, the drug game is very much a form of entrepreneurship. It's just the product is different.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Absolutely.
Because I recall you once said, and even in your book, you talk about how those principles you learned back then actually helped you to do what you're doing now? When you started, when you got out of prison, you was flipping cars. Then, of course, you got into flipping houses.
Absolutely. And the fact that, and I think one of the biggest things that I've learned that I even, use today is when things slow down, business is not always going to be good. And I learned that in the drug game. We would have a drought. You know what I'm saying? Business wasn't always good. But if you had a pillow, then you were able to make it. And I always had something left over.
Right.
When the drought comes, I may have a few nibbles. I can still make it through the drought.
Yeah.
A lot of cats couldn't make it through the drought.
Yeah. So fast forward when you being that 17-year-old getting into drug dealing, you ultimately ended up, I think around the age of 22. You said, well, how old?
22.
That's when you actually went to prison.
I actually went to prison, man. I actually went to federal prison to be exact.
Yeah.
Never been in no serious trouble or anything like that, man. And I actually it was 1994, January the 2nd, man. One of my partners that I used to deal with, he called me, and he was in Alabama, actually. And long story short, he wanted me to bring something to Alabama. And actually, me and my partner were supposed to be finished, but we ended up like, you know what? We're going to get back in the game because we had spent so much money for Christmas, you know what I'm saying? And we were trying to make this money back. We were being greedy. That's what we call it today. Because we was like, hey, we made enough money. We're going to chill. We cool. We got something to sit on. We're going to start a business or whatever. But we didn't do any of that, man. This was like, it was so crazy, man. When I tell you this was like deja vu, because this guy put me in a situation. He was at the police department when he called me, first of all. And he was wearing a wire then. So when I went to Alabama, I got to Mobile January the 2nd. And I was at a hotel. We had I got to Mobile January 1st. Let me back up. We had a New Year's party at this hotel downtown, Mobile, Alabama, at the Riverview Plaza, it was called back then. And we had a presidential suite. I can remember it clear as day, man. One of my partners, who's doing really well today, I ain't gonna mention his name because I don't know how but anyway, he actually got the suite for me and all this stuff. And the next morning, the guy called me, the same guy. I had already brung the drugs down and put them up, and I met him at my aunt's house. And the thing was, I was supposed to, give him the dope, and I had a few other people that was coming over there picking up. I think I had 4 keys at the time, and I ended up leaving one with one of my partners, and the other 3, he was just in the house, And one of my partners, the one that actually set me up, was like, "Hey man, let me try this stuff out." And we was in my aunt's house. Now think about that. Every time he go into this dope, man, because he was a snorter. He was snort cocaine. Of course, a lot of cats in drugs, they like to snort. So he was snorting, and every time he snort this cocaine, man, he would say, "Man, this some good stuff." And I'm like, why does cat keep that? Man, this stuff's so good. But every time he say stuff, he was giving the FBI the cold word that, hey, y'all need to come on in here and get this.
Wow.
So when I looked up, man, all of a sudden I just saw banging at the door, Rams. You know what I'm saying? I looked at the peephole, all I saw was FBI. So I'm running to my auntie house trying to grab stuff and take it to the bathroom and flush it. He's supposed to be flushing it down the garbage disposal. He ain't doing nothing, man. I had drugs everywhere, all over my aunt's house, man.
So why was he an informant? Did he get jammed up?
He got jammed up twice. Now, and here's the problem is I usually don't deal with guys outside of my neighborhood. And this was one guy I dealt outside of my neighborhood. So usually if somebody get busted within that circle, I'll hear about it. You're going to know.
Correct.
Because this is your territory.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So by me going outside of my neighborhood, when he got busted, I had not a clue. He had got busted twice, come to find out, by the state. So to save his honey, he put me on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah. So from there, man, I ended up getting locked up, and I was facing 360 months to life. First of all, I couldn't even count it. I didn't know what 360 was. When 22 years, just say 360. What is that, man? When I got back to the cell, I was drunk. You feel me? I'm like 360 months, man. I went to counting. Damn, 60 months, 5 years, 120, 10. You know what I'm saying? 30 years. By some drugs. Oh man, my life is over. They wanted to give me life. The prosecutor was actually shooting for life. And in the feds, when you get life sentence, man, they put the cease on your paper. You don't even get out, period.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a crazy experience for me at 22 years old, man. I broke a lot of people's heart with that situation.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? I had an 8-month-old daughter that, I just had, well, she was like 6 or 7 months around that time, man. But that was one of the biggest things that affected me the most.
So 22 years old, you're looking at 30 years to life.
In federal prison.
In federal prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm for sure there was a sense of hopelessness.
All the way. I thought it was over for me, period. I would die in prison, to be honest with you. That's the mindset.
So what kept you going? What kept you going each and every day?
Man, I was hoping that, literally when I first started, there was no hope. I was just like, I was in the law library trying to figure this thing out. We kept, filing appeals and, till some came up and happened for me. Mm-hmm. But once I was in Coleman, Florida, man, in 2003 or 2, because this was in 94. I ended up going to federal prison in 95. Mm-hmm. So in 2003, I got a sentence reduction from 30 years to 15 years. Mm-hmm. And then once I got my sentence, I was at 180, but I had already been in prison then 9 years at the time. So I ended up going to, I went from El Reno, Oklahoma. First of all, this is a federal prison, and that's the first joint I went to, right? They flew us out there, of course, with the government plane. And this campus, man, was full of nothing but gangs, man. When I tell you gangs, wow. They had every gang on the planet that you can think of. Aryan Brotherhoods, Mexican Mafia, Texas Syndicans, Gangsters of Cypress, Crips and Bloods from California. My seller was actually a Crip, and me and him actually connected, and because I'm the only guy from Alabama, so I had to figure out, somebody to hang out with and connect with. So that was my crew. I ended up going to the hole because I got in trouble in the chow hall one day with an officer, man. Me and him got into it, and actually I ended up in the hole with Timothy McVeigh, and I'm like, what the?
Wow.
This the man who did the Oklahoma City bombing.
Right.
And they got me to say next to this cat here. So it was a real serious situation, man. So I was in a penitentiary in El Reno, Oklahoma. Then I went from there. After 3 years, it was a black warden, man, associate warden. Actually, not a warden, but she was associate warden, man. And she took a liking to me because I started teaching inmates GED while I was in there. And she ended up giving me a transfer. So I went from El Reno, Oklahoma to Talladega, Alabama, which was like home to me.
Yeah.
It was like freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because people could come and visit with you and things of that nature.
Well, people came. Well, I only had one visit while I was in there. I was there 3 years, only had one visit. Mm-hmm. So can you imagine that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not knowing nobody, 17 hours away from home.
Yeah.
Nobody coming. Well, one time I had somebody come see me, but other than that, I just had to wing it.
So how much time did you actually spend?
In prison? In
prison, yeah.
14 years.
14 years.
14 years.
Wow.
All together, 14 years.
So, and I know I'm actually on the board of a organization that deal with men who get out of prison, mm-hmm. and it's kind of like a reentry program. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I noticed is that a lot of bros, when they get out, they don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the whole point of the reentry program, is mm-hmm. to kind of give them guidance on what to do.
That's right.
When you got out, what how did things happen for you? What was your plan?
Okay, so I was in Coleman, Florida when I was released. This was like the end of 2007. I was released from Coleman, Florida. Two of my partners from Alabama, Mobile, came and picked me up from the prison. And I had one outfit. I had the outfit that a partner had sent me in. I don't know if you remember the old brand. You remember LRG brand? You remember the LRG brand?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I had an LRG t-shirt and some jeans, man. And they came and picked me up and drove me to Atlanta, Georgia, and dropped me off at the halfway house. Each one of them gave me $100 a piece. And I had been gone 14 years, and I had to figure it out from there. So, but you got to remember, I had a vision, though. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I just had to figure it out, man. So that's why it's hard for me to accept excuses when I'm dealing with people, because I know where I had came from,
Correct.
So I couldn't get a job. So I ran into this lady. She owned a security company. She was out of Cobb County, but the security company had a gig out in Alpharetta, at a pharmaceutical company called McKesson's.
Yes.
And I was a flashlight cop. My first job, believe it or not. Can you believe that, man?
A prisoner becoming a flashlight
flashlight cop. First job coming out of prison.
Right.
Man. So, but I was making $7 an hour, and I had to get a hair warehouse 20% of that.
Oh, you had to give them 20%.
20% of my $7 an hour. Whatever money I made from that $7 an hour, I had to give it to them.
Did they take taxes out of that $7?
Yeah, they took taxes out.
So they took taxes, and you still had to give 20%.
So imagine what I was going through. You know, I'm catching water, I'm walking, I'm figuring it out, but I didn't give up. I had a vision.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I knew when I left this prison that, you know, I was, you know, let me back up for a second, because I had an aha moment when I was in Coleman before I left. You know what I'm saying? I called my auntie one day, was looking for some money. And you know, because in prison, man, everybody need money.
Yes.
You want to get to some commissary, some zoom, wham, whatever they call it. And I called my aunt one day, man, and asked her for some money. And she couldn't give it to me right then. And that hurt me. I was pained. You know what I'm saying? And I know this now, but I didn't realize what was happening then. But pain changes people.
Right.
You know,
correct.
That's the number one driver of change.
Yes,
man.
it
It's
does.
pain. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? If you ain't going through no, if you see a person you want to change and they ain't changed yet, they ain't been pained enough.
That's correct.
You know what I'm saying? So I was pained, man. I was hurt. So what happened? Something came over me and said, you know what? You know, you put yourself in this situation. And I was playing the blame game. You know, you can't blame this on anybody. I'll blame it on God, my mama, my daddy, because my grandmother raised me. You know, I ain't have my mother and father in the house. You know, so but after I realized, man, you did this. You got to accept responsibility, man, and move forward. So right there in that moment, man, everything just shifted for me. You know what I'm saying? Mentally. And I called my mom, and we had a conversation. She sent me a Bible. I started reading the Bible, and I told her to send me. That's when I got the Think and Grow Rich book.
Yeah.
My auntie sent me that book. I started reading that book, man. I started hanging around cats in the prison that was positive. You know, that was out doing good things, but just got caught up. You know what I'm saying? And these guys actually really mentored me and helped me, man. And I had my mind right when I was coming out. Now, my goal was, I was actually training. I was doing a personal training course while I was in there. Ended up getting my certification, and I was training inmates on the side. That's what I was doing in prison.
Physical training.
Yeah, prison training.
Yeah.
But everybody had to have a job when you're in there. I think I made like $30 a month on the job. You know what I'm saying? So when I came out and got, come out of prison, making $7, that was a step up for me.
Right, exactly.
But I knew I had a vision, man. But so from there, though, I ended up starting a personal training business. That was my first business that I started, because I always wanted to, start my own business. That was that's the whole goal.
But you was doing personal training in the joint. In the joint.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was doing personal training in the joint, man. So when I came home, that was one of the businesses that I wanted to start. But I didn't have the structure. So I started it. It lasted for a little while, did pretty good, but it didn't last because I didn't have the structure.
You didn't, yeah.
I didn't have the structure, the mindset that I have now when it comes to the money side of it.
Right.
And so what I did then, I was working with a friend of mine, and she owns a commercial cleaning business. And this chick, man, was making $500,000 a year. She was making like 40, 50 grand a month cleaning buildings. And I'm like, man, I'm helping her out. She looking out for me. I worked for her for about 2-3 months, maybe a little long, maybe 6 months. She taught me how to strip and wax floors and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, hey, you might want to try this on your own. So, she kind of pushed me out the door. I'm like, I ain't really got no money to start this, but I'm going to figure this thing out, So I ended up borrowing $700 off my wife's credit card.
Wow.
To buy some used equipment. I bought some of the floor machines, some buckets, and my wife helped me get my first contract, because she ran like 4 medical facilities. And they had some Hispanic people in, and they ended up getting rid of them, and I was making like $1,700 a year. I mean a month, $1,700 a month on that job. So I'm thinking I'm really doing something. You feel me? But from there, man, I kind of skyrocketed. It went, because my cousin, I got a cousin here, and Steve, and he hooked me up. He was a facilities manager, man, and I'm not gonna say where, because I don't want to put him on the spot.
Understood.
But he hooked me up with this company that was a commercial cleaning company. They was major. It was a multi-million-dollar company, and I was a subcontractor for them initially. So they was just testing me out. So what they did was gave me a job in South Carolina at a nursery home, man. My first big job. I didn't know what I was doing. They said, man, can you go out here and strip and wax this nursing home? It was like a 40,000 square foot building. You know what I'm saying? We can pay you 15 grand if you can go out here and do this. What? So I'm going to make it happen. Guess what I did? I went and found some people that knew what they were doing, went and got some hotel rooms, put them in the hotel rooms, and guess what I did? We went and did this job. I made $5 grand in a week, and I learned even more than I did probably in the last 6 months that I had been out.
That was your that you made $5 grand.
I made
profit.
$5 grand profit in
right,
1 week.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I did that job for them, they took a liking to me. Oh man, you did that job with ease. You know what I'm saying? So they said, well, look, we got a big contract that's coming up at these colleges, Georgia Southern, over the summer. Would you be interested in that? Oh man, of course. You know, so they gave me my first contract. This was 2011, and I was a sub for them. So we did this for like 4 years. But my first year, man, I made about 80 grand in 3 months.
Wow.
After paying all my people. So I went to Georgia Southern. I went down there and had a lot of students, took some guys with me, had some hotel rooms. So I had about 30 or 40 employees. So I had to think about that now. I went from 2 or 3 employees working at a medical facility to cleaning schools and needing 30 and 40 employees. So I had to really figure it out really fast.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I made 80 grand in 3 months over the summer, I'm like, oh man, this is it here.
Wow.
You know, so I took that money because you got to imagine I made 80 grand in 3 months. So now I had to do something with this money. Because after the summer, you know, I really didn't have anything to do but the $1,700 a month gig.
Yeah.
So I started flipping cars. Then the next summer, I made 150. Then the summer after that, I made about 200. Then the summer after that, it just started going. It's going. So the most I made.
So talk to me about the flipping cars, because I remember you telling me this once. A lot of people probably don't even understand what you did. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you say you was flipping cars.
So what I did was, you know, I got all this money in the bank. Now I had to figure out. I'm the type of guy that, you know, I'm creative. I like my money to be working for me. I pulled some money out the bank and I said, you know what? I'm gonna go out here and buy some cars and flip them. So I got with a friend of mine who had some license. You know, he was an auction guy, and I started going to the auction with him. You know, I would pay him a little fee, and I would get these cars, and I might pay $3,000 for a car, come back and sell it for $4,000. You know what I'm saying? I made $1,000 in that week. I might start buying 2, 3, and just start scaling, man. So I was making money like that up until the next summer came around, and then I would slow down on the car thing and focus on my summer job. On the contracts, because at one summer, man, I had 4 contracts at one time, so I probably made about $800,000, you know, revenue wise, in one summer, doing all these colleges.
So instead of letting your money just sit in the bank, because obviously you made some money, you had this money sitting in the banks. Most people just let that money sit in the bank.
Absolutely.
You said, no, I'm going to be creative, which I think is genius. You said, I'm going to take this money and I'm going to invest it into things that I know about. In this case, it was cars. And you use that as a way to generate more money for yourself.
With the money that I already had, absolutely. Because I realized that my money used to sit in the bank, and I'm like, man, I got all this money sitting in the bank. You know, I had over $250,000 sitting in the bank one time, and they was giving me like $20 at the end of the year, $10. What?
Absolutely.
So why am I going to just let my money sit here? You know, I'm like, nah, I can't do this. We're going to figure this out, you know.
Yeah.
So I actually started taking that money and flipping it and not only that, I started investing in other people's businesses, you know.
Yes.
I had a friend of mine that was a tax guy. So every year he would borrow money from me during tax season so that he can loan money out to his guys to borrow, you know, before they get their taxes. And man, you know, I would make just in the tax season, man, $10,000 or $15,000, that's my money. That would be vacation for me and my wife.
So let's talk about that. So he was a tax guy. He would lend his money to clients. So he needed some capital from you.
He needed some capital from me.
So I'm imagining that he would probably get the capital from you, pay you a certain interest, and then upsell that interest to them.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's exactly what happened.
That's smart. That's smart.
Yeah. So
right.
That was man. It was just it was just the grace of God, man, that I figured all this stuff out, man. You know, I didn't. It was tough. Now it wasn't easy.
Right.
You have to have discipline.
Yeah.
You got to practice. I was and I throwed away a lot of money. Now don't get me wrong, because it was coming so fast.
Yes.
But what I didn't do was live above my means. I stayed below my means. So when I was making 5 figures, when I was making 6 figures, I was living a 5-figure lifestyle.
Correct.
When I started making 7 figures, I was living a 6-figure lifestyle. Because on top of that commercial cleaning company, now I ended up starting a whole nother company with a guy.
Yes.
A friend of mine, well, not a, I would say associate of mine at the time, and we ended up getting a contract with Pace Academy here in Atlanta, Georgia.
I remember you was telling me about that.
We were the first blacks to actually get in there, and we had a $1.2 million contract with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, this is how this done. You know what I'm saying?
But you would have never been able to get that contract if you didn't already have capital. If you wasn't good managing the money that you had, it'd have been hard for you to ever scale up to that contract.
Yes, because this is what happened. My partner who had the connection, he didn't have the capital.
That's how you got involved.
That's how I got involved.
Right.
That's exactly how I got involved. Yeah. He came to me and said, hey, look, I got the contract. I don't have the capital. You got the capital. And then we could 50-50.
Absolutely.
And that's what we ended up doing. I mean, he ended up messing it up. We had it for 3 years. He ended up messing it up because he couldn't manage his money. But but I learned a valuable lesson from that too, because I dived into something without even thinking about the relationship part of it.
Yes.
I was thinking about, man, I can make $100,000 and some a year. You know what I'm saying? And that was all on my mind, But now that I backtrack, man, I'll really evaluate people now before I actually get into a business relationship with them, because I lost so much money.
A lot of people don't realize when you get into business with someone, it's almost like getting into a marriage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you forming LLCs, I think people don't take that, they take it too lightly, right? They form LLCs with people not realizing that when you do that, it's almost like a marriage now. That person's financial problems now become your financial problems.
Absolutely. We got we had a $40,000 a month payroll, and this cat wouldn't even have his payroll half of the time. So I had to foot the payroll most of the time. Now, the only reason I did that was because I was the one getting the check.
Yes.
Because my part of the business was to handle the administrative side, do payroll and hire people and all that stuff. He was supposed to be the operations guy, but half of the time he wouldn't have his payroll. And I started actually charging him interest. And guess what? He was paying it.
Wow.
I would charge him interest on when I get the check. He would borrow money from me to make his payroll and then pay me interest.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm like, but I just didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But he was a bad money man. He didn't manage his money.
Right.
But he went from making $20 an hour for a company to making $100,000 and some a year, and he couldn't help it. I guess he started buying boats, cars, just the typical things a lot of us do, when we start making money. And I get it, but what's the saving grace for me was, even if I spent a lot of money, I still lived below my means.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
I totally agree with you. Yeah. Totally,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even today, right now, man, I got people laugh sometimes. I got a 2022 Toyota Camry that I drive.
Yeah. What's that book, The Millionaire Next Door? That book, The Millionaire Next Door, talks about that. It talks about how, that's why it's called The Millionaire Next Door, because a lot of people don't realize that people next door to them riding around in, Toyotas and things of that nature, they are multi-millionaires.
Absolutely.
They just don't go out and showboat or peacock and all that type of stuff, like a lot of people do. Trying to
nothing wrong with that if you can afford it, but that's what hey.
Right. Yeah. So let's fast forward to today. What are you doing today with your business?
Oh man, right now I'm actually scaling more so out of the commercial cleaning business. I got a friend of mine now. I'm kind of passing him the torch with that, because I kind of got burned out with the
you're just pivoting now.
Yeah, we got a contract that we're wrapping up now at the airport, Atlanta airport. But after that, so I started an academy actually. Right now we have an academy where we help entrepreneurs to get structured, how to get funding, because a lot of entrepreneurs, man, believe it or not, are not structured properly when they start their business. And funding and credit-wise, they don't have a clue, man.
Right.
I talk to so many guys and deal with so many people that don't know how to go out here and use leverage. And that's a major game that you have to learn if you want to learn how to scale a business.
Absolutely.
You cannot grow without learning how to leverage. I don't care what nobody tells me. If you want to build a business, you're gonna cap out somewhere.
Absolutely. You gotta know how to use debt. You have to know how to
use that. So that's one of the things we do. We got an academy, and I also invest in real estate now. That's my major income right now.
Yeah.
I flip about maybe 8 to 10 homes a year now. I own at least 7 rental properties right now, all together between Georgia and Alabama. And we started this Built for Wealth conference now.
Yeah.
I wrote a book, so these are all the things that I'm focused. My goal right now, man, is to take all the things that I've learned and help our people, help our community, man.
Yes.
To figure this thing out, man, because we're the lowest on the totem pole when it comes to building wealth. I mean, and it don't really have to be that way, because we making money. Think about last year, we spent $1.2 trillion.
Yeah. Well, if you look at Instagram, it don't seem like that we're the lowest on the totem pole.
We know what that is, though. We already know. That's what that $1.2 trillion is.
Right. Right.
And don't get me wrong, man. If people don't. If you want to drive, that's fine. My wife drives a BMW, but that's what she want to do. You know what I mean? I'm not into the. I did all that stuff before in the past.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of people make 6 figures, but they spend 7. If they make 7 figures, they might spend 8. So you ain't no better than somebody who's making $30,000 to $20,000. You live in paycheck. You in debt too.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot.
Yeah.
I see that a whole lot. Believe it or not, I'm thinking, okay, this cat makes 7 figures. He got it. But no, he's spending 7 figures or better, so he don't have it.
Yeah. You see that a lot. I read an article when they were saying how you got a lot of people that make $200,000 a year, but they're living paycheck to paycheck. They actually said more people making 6 figures now live paycheck to paycheck. And it all goes to their inability to know how to save.
That's what it starts with.
Right.
That's probably one of the most important things you could do, man, is build their savings. Because emergency funds saved me a lot, man. Hey, when on the personal side and in business.
Yes.
Because if you don't have an emergency fund, you can't get around problems. They're gonna happen.
Right.
Ain't no way around it. You know what I'm saying? So if something happens, I had a cushion. So people be like, it may look like you don't have a problem, but you got the same problems I got.
Same problems. That's right.
You just got a cushion. I may have a cushion.
Yeah. We just know how to manage our money a little bit better than most.
That's the key, man. And a lot of people don't create a budget. And I didn't do it from the beginning. You got to figure out how this budget works, man. Because most people probably know what they have coming in. If you ask somebody what they got coming in, how much money they got coming in, how much money they make every week or 2 weeks, I guarantee you they can tell you that. But ask them how much they got going out.
They don't know.
They don't have a clue.
That's right. Yeah.
So
let me ask you, what are some of the struggles that you've encountered as an entrepreneur?
Woo, man, just scaling, man. Trying to find the right people on your team. I think that's the toughest thing, man, for me. Trying to find the right people for your team to grow. That's so hard, man, because nobody really want to, everybody wants something for nothing. Everybody want like yesterday.
Yes.
Nobody want to put in the work and that delayed gratification. Everybody want instant gratification. So if I come and say, hey, look, and offer you an opportunity and say, hey, man, here's what it's going to look like right now, but if you work with me on down the road, this is what it's going to be like.
Right.
They can't see that. So I think that's the biggest issue for me, man. That's my biggest struggle, is finding the right people to put on my team, man.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yep.
Now, when you look at AI, globalization, and all the different economic changes, right, especially coming out of COVID, all the different economic changes, do you think that there's more or less opportunity today for entrepreneurs?
Man, I'm gonna say more by far. I mean, just too much information out here now. It's man, you could go out here and start something today and start making money today.
True. That's true.
We didn't have that.
We didn't have that back.
We had them opportunities like that.
No, we did.
You know?
That's right. That's
you
right.
Go out here and actually have good credit. Go get your car, rent a car, anything. Start an Uber, drive a tour. I mean, it's just so many ways you can make money these days, man. There's no excuse.
Correct.
So I would just have to say it's better. It's a better.
So
position.
with because a lot of people think that AI is going to replace humans, and a lot of people are just afraid of what AI is going to do. Do you know much about AI? What's your take on AI?
I don't know a whole lot about AI, but the little that I do know and it's probably going to be some truth to that in certain sectors, but for the most part, most service businesses, I can't, and if you learn how to, create a product like books or something where you can actually sell over and over and over and over,
yes.
like you create, let's say for example, you write a book and you create a book funnel. That book working for you by itself, and just you got to be creative. More so, if I don't see AI taking over, if you be a creative person, or you're into some service business, or you're into real estate, or things like this, I don't think it's going nowhere.
I think AI should help complement.
Yes,
what
I totally agree with
what
that.
you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely,
what we're doing. Yeah,
and a lot of people kind of living by that right now, but I think that's a mistake.
I actually think globalization or the global workforce is more of a threat than AI in itself, because you think about the power of the internet now, we live in a more of a global economy.
That is so true.
Even like in your business, I would imagine you got investors now that compete with you, and most of the investors aren't even in this country.
That's right. That's absolutely true. You got something that's called, virtual wholesaling now they're doing.
Yes.
Because I actually have a team, and we actually source deals, and sometimes I even look for my own deals. But in doing that, you got so much competition out here now, because these people can just sit at home at a computer and find deals.
Right.
And sell them to people like myself, an investor. So imagine if you can do this from anywhere. I'm thinking in my mind, I could be 80 years old and do a deal.
Correct.
Because
think about how wholesaling back when you first started. How were y'all doing it then? Especially for the audience, for the people, the younger folks who's probably watching this podcast. They probably are very familiar with just sitting at home on their computer doing real estate deals. How was it done when you first started?
Knocking on doors, going out there driving for dollars, you know what I'm saying? Just knocking and figuring out, seeing who want to sell their home. But right now, you can just sit behind your desk, man. That's a total different scenario.
And that was strange to me when I first, because when I got into real estate, you're right. I mean, you had to go and look at the property. You had to go travel.
Absolutely.
Where
I
I just didn't believe it when people was telling me that they found the deal on the internet. I was like, who would sell their home?
I've purchased from people like that, so I know it's true.
Wow.
It's crazy, man, but they literally sit at home and they create these CRMs, these contact relationship management systems, and they house everything in this. And they just sit there and they hire these virtual assistants from Nigeria, Philippines, wherever, and they do all the cold calling for them and drive these leads in. Man, it's crazy, but that's what's really going on.
So they're not even doing the cold calling themselves anymore.
Some of them are, but a lot of them have teams of just people just cold calling for them. So what they'll do, they have a sales team that when the leads come in, then they'll actually close the deal. They have a closing team. They have people making the cold calls, getting the leads, and then you have a closing team to actually close the deals.
So they're not even closing the deals themselves.
Well, some of them are, depends.
Some. But there's a business model where basically you can have other people doing this for you.
Absolutely, for sure.
It was interesting to me when I heard about remote closers, and these are actually salespeople who will, on a commission basis, will close deals for you. Now, I remember, a lot of times you get salespeople that would generate leads, but when I started hearing about remote people that would actually close the deal on a commission basis, I was like, man, that can't be true, right? I mean, who would, right? Because again, I didn't think that it was just something. Again, the internet has created these opportunities that, for a lot of entrepreneurs, and including myself, it's kind of hard to adapt to those changes.
It's very hard to adapt. It is, man. We got to change so fast these days, man. Like every 3-6 months, things changing. So and that's the problem, because a lot of people we don't like change. We don't want to.
So how do you plan to adapt to the changes in today's economy? Because there's a lot of changes happening right now. How do you plan to adapt to those changes within your business?
Man, that's a great question, man. One of the things I'm doing now is, while, I'm actually lining myself up financially, like just matter of fact, just 2 days ago, I just raised another 120 grand. I went to Chase, actually, and matter of fact, they got a program where you can get a business credit card, which I had plenty of them, but I got a different LLC. I applied for a business credit card. I had 2 of these already, Inc. Unlimited. They actually they gave me $21,000, but they actually give you $1,200 right now. if you spend $6,000 in 90 days. I spend that in less than a month.
Oh, so they give you like a
welcome
rebate.
bonus.
Oh, yeah,
it's a
yeah,
welcome bonus
yeah.
for spending whatever you spend on that credit card.
Yeah.
Then they give you like, I think 2% or 1.5% or 2% for every other purchase or something like that. So I raised money and I actually applied for a $100,000 line of credit, another $100,000. So I'll know something tomorrow about that. But if I get this between this year and last year, that'll be like $500,000 I done raised just in between business lines of credit and credit cards.
And how are you planning to leverage that extra credit?
Man, real estate, man, real estate. Buy more properties, man. Leverage that.
Why is real estate so important to you?
Man, because real estate one of the biggest wealth builders in America, man. It's been that for the longest, man. I didn't understand when I was young. I just I didn't start buying earlier. You know what I'm saying? Because think about it. Every millionaire and billionaire that I know, they either entrepreneur or in real estate or a combination of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tangible asset. It's not going nowhere. You follow what I'm saying? So if I go buy an asset for $100,000 and I'm getting $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 a month in that, but with the strategy I use, which is the Burr method, I actually buy the property. Like, for example, I bought a property not long ago. I paid, $128,000 for a property, right? And I think right now we're about 40 into it. So that's 168?
Yep.
But I'll be able to sell this property for like $260.
Right.
So
that's about $80,000
profit. $60,000, $70,000, somewhere around up in there, profit. And I'm at my 90-day mark now. So the property getting ready to go on the market this week. Hopefully, everything go well this week. So I'll be at my 90 days. So when I do this and I got 2 other properties I'm doing the same way. So imagine if I do 3 properties every 90 days.
Yes.
Or every 120 days. I mean, it's the biggest wealth builder in America, man. That's why I think, even with, I know some people don't feel this way, but even with home ownership, for me, my personal home, man, I think I paid, when I first bought my home, man, back in 2012, we paid $250,000 for our house. That house is worth like $570,000 now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I got 2 rental properties not far from it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I see the wealth in it. But one of the houses I got, I'm setting up for my 12-year-old daughter now. So instead of me actually getting a college fund, I actually bought her this house. So when she get ready to graduate from high school, this is gonna be,
So the house is generating income for her to be able to help.
And the equity is built up in it.
To help supplement her college fund.
She already probably well into $200,000 in equity right now with it.
Yeah, I often tell people, real estate is a business. So a lot of times we don't look at it that way. We just think real estate is property. Real estate
is my business.
It is a business. It is a business, and because it gives you even more benefits than an actual business, right? I'm talking about a business with employees and things of that nature, right? It's actually much better because you don't have to have all these employees.
That's right.
But you're getting the same or even better tax benefits.
You're getting the best tax benefit. Yeah. That's why a lot of people get into real estate. Think about it. Think about a lot of these doctors and lawyers that actually, a lot of them will do, what I figured out is, say they're making $200,000, $300,000 a year, and they'll have their wife, if they married, go get a real estate license or just start investing in real estate.
Yeah.
Full time. So I think you got to work like 600 hours a year or something like that to become a full-time real estate investor.
That's correct.
So you can get the tax advantages. But guess what? When they file jointly, the husband get the same tax benefit.
That's right.
That's game,
That's
man.
right.
We got to learn the money game, man. This is a game out here. Either you're going to play the game or the game going to play you.
Absolutely.
You follow what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right. So let's talk a little bit about your faith, right? I mean, you're a God-fearing man. You said earlier that's one of the things. How important is your faith in God, and how has it contributed to your success?
Whoa, man. My faith is, that's the glue. That's the glue for me personally and professionally. So I have this formula that I keep in my office on the board. And I think it was a book that I was reading a while back. I got it from somebody, but it stipulates that, it says that, put God first, then my family, then educate myself, then the business. If any one of those are out of line, I'm kind of, sometimes I spend more time in the business than the family. Then I have to make adjustments and start spending more time with the family. Sometimes I spend more time with educating myself and not enough time with God.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, but as long as I stay in that order, man, it works for me, man. I think that faith is the most powerful thing in the world. The Bible don't lie. You know, it's biblical principles. Everything to me, in my personal opinion, it's from the Bible. This is nothing new under the sun that we dealing with.
Correct.
Even from the business side, business principles are in the Bible.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So look at Solomon. Solomon was what?
Yeah, he was the richest man in the Bible, right? Yeah.
So and we are built for wealth. The Bible says that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? God has given us the ability to produce wealth. So guess what? I take His word.
Yes.
I want to hold Him to His word.
Yeah. And what's the? You and I talked about this the other day. There was a parable in the Bible where it talks about the talents. That's I think the parable of the talents.
Yeah.
Right, where the three men. The father gave the three men the three
1
5.
I think 1 5 was, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to mess it up here, but I think it's 1 5. He gave one, the other 2, and then the 1 1. The one that 5, he flipped it. The other that made the 2, he flipped it. But the one that had the 1, he went and buried it and
didn't do nothing with it.
Yeah.
And then the father took his talent
and gave it to
the. So, and if you think about business and life in general, that's how business and in life works.
That's how business and life works.
I mean, if you don't do anything with the talent that you have,
you lose it.
You lose it.
That's the name of the game.
Right.
That's it. You got to keep it going. Life is a constant change for us, man. And the one thing I've learned is if you're not constantly educating yourself, and that's why I read a lot, man, because reading to me is so important because it's like compound interest with money. And I heard Warren Buffett say this, and it's so true to me, that it's compound knowledge. Mm-hmm. The more things that you can read and learn and actually, when I say read, I mean I actually implement a lot of the stuff I read. I put it into practice. I don't just skim and read through a book. Even with the Bible, I practice it, man. I put it into practice. So what's the use if I don't?
Right.
So reading, and then a lot of times, I do a lot of writing with that. I got a journal that I keep in place, but man, having faith in God, man, is probably one of the most powerful tools that you can carry with you, man, in my opinion, man.
Absolutely. So being that this show is called Bootstrap Millionaire, what does the term bootstrapping mean to you?
Woo! Getting in the mud, man, starting from the bottom. Starting from the bottom, now I'm here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But that's it. On a serious note, man, this is just somebody who actually started from nothing, wasn't given a silver spoon.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And built that, put them boots on and went out here and got it. I mean, a lot of times, I made good money, but I was away from my family for 2-3 months at a time, staying in hotel rooms and all of that stuff. That's,
all the sacrifices.
There you go. It's the sacrifices you have to make.
Yeah.
So definitely, that's a bootstrap millionaire.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that that's, as I wrote in my book, there's a chapter called See the Glory, Don't Know the Story.
I remember that.
Everybody see the glory, but they don't know what you've gone through to get all the pain, all the late nights, all those things.
Can't sleep at night sometimes.
Absolutely.
Hey, because I remember one time, I was at the college in Georgia Southern, and I was like, I had $150,000 in payroll, man, and I'm 150 grand in, and I ain't got one check yet.
Right.
I'm waiting on them checks to come in.
Yes.
I'm shaking like a leaf on a tree.
Yes.
You feel me?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It take a lot of faith, but to keep pushing.
A lot of laying in the bed praying, Lord help me, help me, Lord help me.
Absolutely. Even now, it's with this conference, I'm deep.
Right. Yes.
We talked about that.
Yeah. You
know what I'm saying? First time ever, but I know I believe in myself, and I know God got my back. You know what I'm saying? And He surrounded me with the right people, so it's going to be successful, and it's going to just continue to grow.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, shout out to the conference that we're doing. It's called the
Built for Wealth Conference.
Built for Wealth Conference here in Atlanta, Georgia. And what's the date?
It's June 21st and June 22nd. We actually having a comedy show that Friday night, and that Saturday is going to be the conference, and then we're going to end with the bang with a 90s theme party, man.
Wow, that's going to be nice.
It's going to be nice.
And you're anticipating what, about 300 people?
300, at least live on between 300 and 350 people.
Yeah. So I definitely hope people check that out. I think that's going to, because you got some great speakers, great panelists, and I'm for sure there's a lot of promo videos that are going to be coming out soon about that as well too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man. Absolutely.
So do you think then, do you think everyone has the skill to become an entrepreneur?
Whoa, man, that's a good question. Do I think? I do. But I don't think everybody wants to be. They don't want to go through the pain.
Right. Absolutely. Right.
It's not easy.
It ain't easy. No.
You know, you got to be willing to jump off that cliff sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because if you ain't willing to jump off that cliff, if you like your sleep at night,
correct.
But what I do learn is what I have learned is being comfortable is not good either.
No.
You know, so even if you're not, you know, thinking about starting a business or, you know, I think that everybody that works a 9 to 5, if you can just create your side hustle, there's some benefit to that.
Right.
And in the world that we live in today, you pretty much got to create your side hustle.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because it can offset your W-2 income and you can create more money. So it's a benefit to you. It behooves you to start a side hustle.
Yes.
If you work in a 9 to 5. You know what I'm saying? Those are the benefits to that. So, but it ain't got to be nothing. I mean, it could be something real simple, you know, but just do something, man, to offset that income, because when you offset that income, guess what? You create more wealth.
Well, think about it. There was a big movement in 2020. I think they called it the Great Resignation, where a lot of people were just quitting their jobs.
Yeah.
and wanting to become entrepreneurs. You know, I guess with all the coaches and all that type of stuff that came out during 2020,
Absolutely.
promoting entrepreneurship. And I didn't totally agree with it. I thought that, you know, I thought it was irresponsible for a lot of these quote unquote coaches.
Absolutely.
Encouraging such a thing.
If you're quitting your job and you don't have something already in place.
So what's your thoughts on that?
Man, I wouldn't, if I worked a 9 to 5, I mean, and I know some people jump off the cliff and just go head first, but I would probably start my side hustle first. Let that side hustle build up, you know, and see if I like it. And if it's something that's generating money more than what I'm doing over here, and I see that I can scale it, then I'll take that leap.
Yeah.
You know, because most people just don't have the heart, you know, to just jump out there and just quit their job. I wouldn't advise nobody just to quit your job and go out there.
I wouldn't.
You know,
either.
I would advise you to start it while you had your job, scale it, and then go from there.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that would be my advice to people. You know?
So now, obviously, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of skills that you must have as an entrepreneur. I'm talking about from being a great salesperson to being a great money manager, being able to manage people, projects, things of that nature. What would you say are the top 3 skills that you must have to be a successful entrepreneur?
Woo! I would say, and this is going to be personal and business, but I would say, first of all, you got to be trustworthy. People got to be able to trust you.
Yes.
Because people can't trust you, they ain't dealing with you at all. You know, you got so many unscrupulous cats out here, man. You know, that's number one.
Especially in Atlanta.
Especially in Atlanta.
Scam city.
So that's one. And I would say, what would be the next one? I would say having tenacity, man. Not being able to give up as easily. That's another, one. What would be the one on the business side that I could say? Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough question you asked then, man. On the business side. Matter of fact, read that question to me one more time.
Yeah,
before,
so the top 3 skills you must have to be a successful entrepreneur.
Ooh, that's tough, man. On the business side, I'm going to say sales.
Yeah.
You got to know how to sell.
Yeah.
Because guess what? If you don't know how to sell, I don't care what you're doing. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Because a lot of people start businesses and they don't really have the sales skills, or they're scared to go out here and sell something.
Yeah.
And it just can't happen without that.
Right.
So I would say sales is the number one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
From there.
And the interesting thing about this question is the fact that what people need to understand is that there are a plethora of skills that you must have to be successful.
Oh yeah.
Because
we just named a few.
Yeah, we just named a few. We haven't talked about cash flow management.
None of that.
Being able to manage money properly.
Leveraging your credit.
Leverage credit, right. I mean,
saving on taxes.
Let me ask you this question, because I see this a lot, and this is a good question. I'd like to get your input on this.
Oh, absolutely.
Particularly for younger people.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a lot of younger people, age 19, 20 years old, that are just saying, hey, I want to become an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I personally disagree with that.
Okay. Because
what skill set do they have to offer? Meaning that, I mean, at the age of 19 and 20, to be, in my opinion, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have learned some form of skill somewhere throughout your life to be able to now take that skill and monetize it, right?
Right.
Because how else are you knowing how to interact in the workforce? What's your take on that? I mean,
that's the kind of, I mean, it depends on what they're doing. Like, say, for example, I know some 19 or 20-year-olds and they make a lot of money, but they doing, just say, like, some of them into stocks.
Yeah.
And they've learned from, I guess, some of these gurus or whoever, and, you know, they doing options, and and even with the virtual wholesaling. I know a couple of 20 years old, they're making six figures at 20 years old.
That's good, right.
You know, so but from a skill set point of view, like, we lack a lot of tradesmen, man. So if you're 19 and 20 years old, here's what I would tell a 19 or 20-year-old right now. If you want to get a trade or something, because you can go out here and literally, once you learn some skills, I'll get up under somebody who I know that's doing electrical, plumbing, HVAC, whatever. Man, you can literally make, coming out the gate, if you go to a trade school, you probably would spend about, a year learning. You can come out probably making 70, 80 grand a year. Easy.
And that's if you're working for somebody.
That's if you're working for somebody.
Because you could actually start, there's not, particularly in the black community, there's not enough tradesmen like that in our community.
Right now.
We're starving
right now. So
plumbers,
anybody that I can
welders.
Man, we need more of that right now.
Yeah. Because it doesn't mean that you have to stay being the laborer. You can start a business.
That's absolutely true.
In doing it, right?
That's absolutely true. That's. I mean, you can scale it to no end, man. You can make 7, 8. It just depends on how aggressive you are, how far you want to go with it.
Absolutely. Right.
You can definitely build a business with it, man, for sure.
All right. Well, Tory, final question for you.
Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? If you had the opportunity to sit down with that 17-year-old Tory Lockett and to give, knowing what you know today, and to give that advice to the 17-year-old Tory Lockett, what advice would you give him?
Man, I would probably say first, son, hey, you're going to need some hell of a faith. Because guess what? Man, when you get to turn them corners, I mean, it's hard. I mean, because it's not an easy process when you're first starting. So many people, look at somebody else's success and be like, oh, man, that looks easy. But you just only looking at where the person is right now. You hadn't looked at what the person looked like when they first started. So I would say just, you would have to have faith, man. You would have to trust in God. You would have to have tenacity. Never give up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, because if you can figure out how to have discipline and not give up on what you're doing, because some of us give up so fast. The first hurdle, we gone.
Right.
So if you can get past the hurdles, you off to the races.
Yeah.
So I think I would just say, just having faith and having tenacity to overcome your obstacles and your fears and all those things. That would probably be the one thing that I would tell a young person to have, because if you got that, you gone. Yeah. The rest can kind of come in place. Yeah. You can learn, but you can have sales skills and all these other skills. But if you ain't got that faith when you went into a bump or a hole, it's over. You gone. I'm out of here.
Right.
So definitely, that's what I.
Cool.
Yep.
So Tory, how can the folks reach out to you? How can we find your book? How can we
definitely. You can find me on, you can go to my website at utvacademy.com and get my book. You can go to my Instagram page at UTV Academy. I'm on TikTok at UTV Academy. So I'm on all platforms, utvacademy.com.
UTV Academy.
UTVacademy.com.
Right. And again, the Wealth Building Conference
The Wealth Building Conference is in June 21st and June 22nd at the beautiful Lowe's Hotel. As a matter of fact, I think you were one of the first ones that actually introduced me to Lowe's. That's when I first met you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Yes,
I think that's going to be a
absolutely.
great conference.
Definitely. It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be off the chain.
Well, listen, man, appreciate you for being on the Bootstrap Millionaire podcast.
Definitely.
Excited to be able to let the world hear about your story.
Absolutely.
And
my pleasure.
And of course, look forward to having you back on again.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Right.
Appreciate
God bless
you, Tim.
All right. Keep bootstrapping.
Absolutely.